Good evening and welcome to Education Number One Priority. I'm Dr. Jane Garza. Every day when we get up, we take it for granted. The lights go on, cold water, hot water, and we go about our business. It's not until one of those, like our electricity goes out, that we say, what happened? When is that power coming back on? Today's program will focus on that. What happens when our electricity goes off? What happens when a transformer goes off? What happens when we have a catastrophic situation? And with us this evening, we have Mr. Julio Reyes, Vice President of External Affairs, a gentleman who works with customer service, whose outreach is about working with legislatures, working with the community to find out how do we better serve our public. This evening, Mr. Julio Reyes, welcome to Education Number One Priority.
Thank you, Dr. Garza. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Well, first, let's just begin visiting about you. As I was reading your bio on the internet, and by the way, I need to compliment your website. Very user-friendly.
Thank you.
Easy to read. But I was noticing that you have really worked yourself up through the company. And I know that's always interesting for many of our folks to say, okay, how can I do that as well? So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you have now reached the position of Vice President of External Affairs?
Oh, it's been a long career with AEP Texas, and it began with when we used to be CP&L, Central Power and Light, that most people know. It'll be this coming July, it'll be 40 years and 12 months. I'm not going to say 41. But I started off in the company down in the valley at the Forest Service Center as a lineman training. At the time, both my wife and I were going to school, and we decided that it was best for one of us to go. In this case, she went in on to finish, and then when she did, I would continue going school at night, got my degree. I'm originally from a small community, Monte Alto. Some folks may be aware of down in the valley. If you drove by and you blinked, you missed it. But I grew up, had parents that kept me out of trouble. But I started going to school at night there at UT Pan Am at the time, University of Texas Pan American. Now I understand it's RGV, RGV.
University of Texas.
University of Texas, that's right. So they keep, the changes, the names have changed a number of times. But I got a degree in Bachelor of Business Administration and Management, and that helped me move through my career. That over a span of 15 years, we relocated approximately 10 different times. My wife and my 4 sons were very accommodating, supported my career because, like I said, once I had my degree, the doors started opening. I was able to work in Eagle Pass, Austin, back in the Valley again, as well as Oklahoma and Tulsa, Oklahoma, with our sister company, PSO, Public Service Oklahoma. So I did a couple of years there, and then, like I said, eventually had the opportunity to come back to Texas, Austin, for a couple of years, actually 8 years. And then when we established the headquarters here in Corpus Christi and became the AEP Texas name that we have today, we all relocated here. So we've been here in the grand city of Corpus Christi for the past 7 years.
All right. Well, I think it's important because as you began to visit with me, you began as a lineman, have worked yourself up. Education was the key to opening that door, and then being able to be flexible and mobile so you could advance in your career.
Dr. Garza, what you just said is key. One is just you have your degree, and 2 is be flexible. One of the challenges we face today when we're looking to fill certain positions, employees have a difficult time relocating, and we understand that and we respect that because they want to be close to family. But if you are a person that looking to move up in the ladder a lot quicker, relocation will be the opportunity that opens that door, because not only are there opportunities in AEP Texas, there's opportunities in the 10 other states that we serve across the central and eastern part of the country.
It's a great transition, because I was going to ask you about that, because I know when I think about AEP, I thought AEP Texas. As I did my research, I find that your AEP is located in 11 states and has approximately about 5 million customers. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
And that is correct. We serve a little over 5 million customers and growing. We count new customers every day. Our headquarters is in Columbus, Ohio. We're one of the largest generating companies in the country. We generate approximately 32,000 megawatts. We're interconnected with different states, approximately 38 other states up in the eastern part as well in the southern part of the country, which is the Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana area. We own one of the largest transmission grids in the system across the country as well. We're the only ones that have the 765 kV lines up in the east, and that's slowly spreading as we move forward. We also have a patent on our transmission structures that are now being built on our line from Laredo to the valley. So if anybody's driving out there, those are unique structures that should withstand any kind of weather storms as we move forward.
You said 38 interconnected states. What does that mean?
What that means is we back each other up. In a complete blackout, they will provide power to us, or we will in turn provide power to them in an emergency. Sometimes, when you have storms, ice storms, etc., you will lose service to a particular transmission grid, and that's where we come in. We will then interconnect with them and provide service again to restore service in a timely manner.
Okay. Can you give us an example of how that's occurred?
It occurred some years back, if you remember, when the major blackout that occurred in the east.
Okay.
We were able to block off the what caused the problem, but then in turn we were then able to slowly, because you can't do it immediately, slowly able to pick up power, and eventually I think it was the next day we were able to restore power. They were able to restore power, but we were able to pick up some of their load as well.
So basically, that's where that interconnectivity comes in.
Correct.
All right, now let's switch to Texas.
Yes.
All right, AEP Texas. So headquarters.
Headquarters is here in Corpus Christi, and we started serving Corpus Christi back in 1960. The headquarters here was established in 1934. And we've been here ever since. And then, of course, everybody remembers the company as Central Power and Light, CPNL. Right. But back in June of 2000, actually in 2003, we changed the name to AEP Texas. We serve 1,051,000 customers across the state. We serve 46% of the state, which covers 97,000 square miles. And we have approximately 200,000 employees scattered throughout the area.
Quite huge.
Yes, it is. We serve 394 communities, and out of those 394 communities, 372 are franchise cities that we serve. They're under my responsibility. So basically, you said you serve 46% of the state? Yes, ma'am. All right. So what, geographically, what portion? So, because as we look at the state of Texas, it's so huge. So can you give us a ballpark idea of where? Our service area, if you look at the state of Texas, it goes all the way just outside Victoria up to El Campo, all the way down, of course, through Corpus down to the valley, then back up to Laredo, then back up to Eagle Pass, Del Rio, and then Rock Springs area. And then just curve down below San Antonio, in the Pearsall, Pleasanton area. That's what we call TCC, which is the old CPNL. It's right. Central Company. And then if you look west, if you look at the San Angelo, Abilene, from San Angelo, for example, if you go southwest, we go all the way down through Alpine. Marfa is all the way down to Presidio. Okay. And then going back up north, we go from Abilene all the way up to Childress and Vernon up in the Panhandle. It's a good size territory. There's a lot of wind chill time when we travel, but we make an effort to go out to all our work locations and our cities, for that matter, to keep our city officials updated on what's going on with AEP Texas. Oh, great. Now let's switch over to what people really sometimes, including myself, will say, okay, we've had some inclement weather, and how are we prepared? Not only how does AEP become prepared for such things, but how can we as the consumer be prepared? So let's just first talk about AEP. You just finished saying 1 million plus, 46% of the state, anything can happen. So how are you ready for
say, any situation that may occur even today?
Well, one is, of course, we pay close attention to the weather. We have, at the corporate level, we have our own in-house meteorologist. And we have we make fun of our VP of distribution, Bruce Evans. He's kind of like our in-house meteorologist. He's constantly looking at the weather, which is like everybody does, in the business we have to. But he has a passion for it, and so he's always keeping us updated as to what's fixing to happen. And you mentioned earlier, we did have some storms earlier, approximately about a month ago, and actually for the past couple of months, that hit us hard. What we do, we stage employees. We identify if the affected area is going to be, let's say, Corpus Christi. We bring in folks, employees, what we call FTEs, full-time employees, from San Angelo, from Abilene, from Victoria, and we stage them in a particular area, depending, that's going to be safe, and have them ready that as soon as the storm blows through, they're assigned to the different areas that will require the restoration. And not only depending on the storm's level, we'll bring in employees from our sister companies, from I mentioned PSO, Oklahoma. Right. We'll bring in employees from SWEPCO, our Southwestern Electric Power Company out of Louisiana, Arkansas as well. And vice versa. If they're going to experience a storm in Oklahoma or Louisiana, we do the same thing. We will send folks, stage them, and have them ready there, where it doesn't take 3 days to get there. They're there within hours.
I think I heard you correctly. I think you said AEP has its own meteorologist?
Yes, we do. He's based in Columbus, Ohio. So
that person then is not relying on what he's hearing from other weather meteorologists. You have one that takes care of it, will alert was alerting you specifically and other key officials. Because
you're absolutely right. This person understands our business and knows what's expected.
Okay.
If the wind velocity is going to be 60 to 70 mile per hour, then we know there's going to be damage. You normally don't, when in your normal weather, NOAA and the weather National Weather Service, they provide good information. We get information from them, but our in-house knows what information we need to make those decisions to be able to stage the employees across the state.
Well, that's what you've answered the question. My next question was to be why. Now I understand. Your meteorologist is not focusing not only on the weather, but the damage it could cause and how AEP can be prepared.
Correct.
All right. You also mentioned staging. Okay. So staging meaning that you do what?
What we do is we bring them in. For example, we're bringing folks from the Abilene, San Angelo, and even from our sister companies. We'll stage them. We'll basically set them up in San Antonio in hotels. We have a logistics chief that is in charge of that. His job is to make sure there's room accommodations where not only the employees will be able to stay, but they bring their vehicles, and these vehicles are huge. So we need the required parking as well, and the security as well, because we got to protect the vehicles.
Okay, so staging means not only people, it means the equipment that's coming along.
Correct.
Okay, so let's talk about what happened within the last month. So how much staging took place at that point?
Quite a lot. We brought folks from, like I said, San Angelo, Abilene, and the Victoria area, as well as some of the other outlying smaller service centers that we have scattered throughout the service area. And again, once they come in, we implement what's called now our incident command structure, which is the FEMA program that everybody else has been using. Now we've transitioned from our old storm restoration plan, SRP, to ERP, emergency restoration plan, which is, we've gone through a lot of training since last year, beginning of August of last year. And we implement, depending on the level of the storm, we'll decide, do we need to set up an incident commander? And this person will be the supreme being, so to speak, and will coordinate as to how many folks he needs to stage, how many different folks that report under him. For example, the liaison officer, which is my title, as well as the PIO, which is the public information officer. You have the operations chief, who's going to be in charge of all the construction and service crews. You have the logistics chief, who's again is going to be in charge of all logistics to house everybody that's being brought in. So depending on the level of the storm, the incident commander has the authority to determine how many folks he needs to activate.
The reason I ask you this, I think I begin to see all the preparation that goes into being ready for any type of catastrophe that may occur. The question then I ask is, all right, now I'm hearing everything AEP is doing. What about the coordination with the county and the city? How does that take place?
The way that takes place, and that falls under my responsibility, a liaison officer, the acronym is LNO. I have EMAs, emergency managers, out in the field that go out, and we've already identified the EOCs, emergency operation centers, across the different counties and cities, as well as the state. And in the state level, we'll have an employee there where he or she will be getting real-time information that'll be disseminated onto the field, so we'll understand what are the needs. Because sometimes there are some emergencies that we don't know about, and they'll usually go to the state and they come to us. What these field managers are going to be doing, they will be the local contact. We divide up the service area in case, let's say, we get hit with a hurricane category 3 level. We divide up the service area, let's say South Texas, into 3 parts, 3 regions. And I have a regional coordinator for each, which is an assistant liaison officer at each region. And he or she will have different EMAs assigned to them, and their job is to go out there not only with the counties but with the cities, because like I said, a lot of our cities have their own emergency restoration plan, and we work closely with them, and then there's that ongoing communication. First, before we send our crews out, I mentioned we stage the crews. We don't send them out immediately. We send out assessors to determine, the damage assessors to determine how much damage we received and where, and that way we know where we got to send the different crews.
Okay, so there's training in-house, there's coordination, so everything, there is a plan in place. All right, so now let's talk about ourselves, the customer. We go, okay, so how do we prepare? Because I know you got things. What should we be doing, like if a thunderstorm is upon us or a hurricane? What should we do in terms of electrical power?
Depending on, again, then we have different levels of storms, and of course the worst one being the hurricane, whether it be a category 1 all the way to a category 5, which is the worst. For customers, that they know there's a storm coming, and a lot of times they don't, because they're busy at work and they're indoors, they don't have a window to see outside. What they need to do is first is, if they're at home, be sure to disconnect different appliances, the TVs, the computers. Make sure that those are not connected to the electrical, because again, you do have power surges where you have lightning strikes and that sort of thing. The key is when the power is restored, is to not put it all on at one time. Turn on each individual appliance singly. That way you don't put a strain on the circuit, and you don't put a strain in our system as well. Because again, a lot of people say, oh, the lights are on, and they turn everything on immediately. And what we tell customers is do it, slowly. Don't. And then the other is, be, one of the, and I mentioned to you this earlier. We have for customers, because the customers want to know when the lights are going to come back on, and they're going to be calling our call center, and I'll provide that number later, to say, okay, what's the status? What's going to happen is you're going to have thousands, if it's a major storm, you're going to have thousands and thousands of customers calling in. So there'll be a delay. But what they can do now is we have this program, an app basically, mobile alerts, where the customer can sign up, where they can go to AEP Texas website, sign up, and what they will need is basically a good phone number, because a lot of times the number that's in the account won't match as to what, because people change phones. So you'll need to update your phone, as well as provide your meter number and your Easy ID number. That's 17 numbers. And a lot of that information is in your bill that you get from your retail energy provider. That information, as well as even our 1-800 number to contact our customer service line. But that will provide you ongoing updated information as to the status of the outage. Instead of you constantly calling, you'll get automatic, whether it be a text, or if you want to use your home phone, they'll leave a message.
Okay, so let's review really quickly on this. So basically, I hear thunder, I hear lightning, I see all of that. best thing for me to do is to unplug some of the major appliances.
Correct.
Power surges are not necessarily the best thing because they can also be affected.
Those work, but again, they can be affected. The other piece, that we do a lot of advertising on safety. Electrical safety is, in a storm, particularly, if the lines are in the overhead lines, we tell people to stay away from down lines because, again, even though they see them on the ground, they may still be energized. We tell them not to go up to their fences because a lot of times lines will fall on their fence. And that's when, we ask them to report the outage so that there's a wire down, and that way we know that we got to go quickly and take care of the problem. But again, do not assume just because the line is down that it's not energized. We always, that's one of our priorities to tell customers, don't do that. Now, when you have an outage as well, sometimes customers says, well, I don't want my food to perish. Don't open up your refrigerator and freezer. Leave it closed. And if you do install a generator to bring power to your, let's say, your refrigerator, have the refrigerator tied directly with an extension cord to the generator. Don't plug it into our circuit. That circuit, when you plug it into a regular circuit, it back feeds through our transformer, and then basically you have an energized line, and then that creates a risk and a hazard for repair crews out there, as well as city folks or wherever out there cleaning up. That might be a wire down. All of a sudden now that was not energized. It can be energized. So we always tell customers it's okay to have generators, but have the whatever appliance or whatever refrigerator. If you're going to plug in your TV, for that matter, plug it directly to the generator.
Great. You also have a pamphlet called Hurricane Tips that is available. Is this available online?
It's available online, and we try to, when we do speaking engagements with Rotaries and Kiwanis, and when we have different conferences, that we have a booth, we provide these to our customers or anybody that is interested to knowing what they need to do to prepare for a hurricane, because hurricanes, as you will know, it's a lot different than just a regular storm.
Yeah, unfortunately it is, and I think one of the things is, and you mentioned it, when an outage goes out, it's going to affect not just a few, not just a couple of blocks, but it may affect an entire city or an entire county. Mm-hmm. So then the question becomes, and I know you get this, when is my light going to be turned on? Okay, what are you using? Are you just turning on the mayors? Are you just turning on the judges?
We do get that.
How do you determine whose lights go on first? You said you have people out there that are assessing, but how does this work so our customers can hear, this is the way it works?
We've identified all our circuits, not only in Corpus, but across the service area. Each substation will have maybe 4 breakers or maybe 8. And what we identified, we coordinated with the city and the counties and identified those priority accounts, whether it be a sewer lift, the water plant, and we categorize them as P1s, priority ones.
Okay.
And those are the first ones that we're going to target. You have nursing homes, you have hospitals. Those are the first that we're going to target. The P2s will go to the next level. Some sewer lifts, cities prefer to, they're okay, they move them down to the next level. But again, and I know our customers understand why we're doing the priority, because again, you want the hospital services and the emergency services, all that available. And again, at the end of the day, and we sit down with our cities on an ongoing basis to determine and update those priority ones, the P1s and the P2s and P3s for that matter, as to what they need first. And then that's what we're going to focus on. Now, if there's an emergency, like again, there's a wire down or that sort of thing, then yes, the crews will be out there to repair that, to clear that emergency and make sure that nobody gets hurt.
So basically, it's a collaborative effort.
Correct.
Okay.
And once, like I mentioned earlier, we have damage assessors. They will go out and then they'll tell us, okay, where's the most damage? Of course, we have meters. They'll tell us, they will backfeed information to us, as well as our substations. They're on what's called a system called SCADA. They'll tell us which breakers are out. So we're already devising a plan based on, again, P1s and 2s and 3s. And eventually everybody will get back on.
Okay. I want to get to 2 questions, and I know our time is coming to a close.
Sure.
First, I want to congratulate, because I was reading that AEP completed a 3rd consecutive year with no fatalities. And this is truly significant because you work in a high-risk area. So congratulations on this. Thank you so much. And I'm going to assume this is because of all the training, and like you said, your AEP employees take a great deal of pride in what they do. Yes,
for us, priority one is safety. we're in a business that is you look at the wires and they're fine, but when the wire's down, then it becomes a hazard. And our employees are constantly trained. That we just last week and this week we had an employee safety summit, a 2-day training discussion. What can we do better? As well as we also compare notes with, like I mentioned earlier, we have a mutual agreement with other utilities across the country. We also compare notes as to what they're doing that works. And then we're bringing it over to AEP Texas and so let's try this and say this is something that we can do moving forward. Again, with the main objective is to keep our employees safe.
Good. Also want to congratulate, because I was reading also that AEP invested more than $25 million in 2015 in education, community needs, environment. So you not only serve the community in providing and be the electricity, but you also invest in their projects as well.
We have a passion for being part of our community. The local presence. Our employees live and work and play there. So we try to support the priority one, education, enhance the education in the community, as well as partner with the environmental projects, as well as the youth, and those are and I supervise the contributions budget, and I allocate dollars to my 9 managers scattered throughout the state, and their objectives, again, to make sure those dollars are used wisely under those different programs that particularly beginning, like I said, education, the youth services, the environment, and of course health services as well.
Well, I truly have enjoyed learning so much about AEP. Before we leave, are there particular numbers you'd like to share with our listening audience?
Yes, there's a couple of numbers I'd like to share, and this is a little card that we get updated every year. It's a card that we carry that our president, Wade Smith, our president chief operating officer, gives us to make sure in a disaster area, whether it be a hurricane or just a storm, gives us access into that. We are an employee of AEP Texas, and we're here to help with the restoration. But the numbers I want to provide to the audience is for the customer service line, and again, these numbers are located on your bill that you receive from your rep. That number is 1-877-373-4858, and that's a customer service. The outage line, in case there's an outage in your area, that number is 1-866-223-8508. And then there's one more I'm going to provide, is reporting its theft of security, in case you see someone, because we do have some challenges there with people trying to steal our equipment. That number is 1-866-747-5845.
Thank you so much. We do appreciate that.
Thank you, Dr. Carson.
My pleasure. Well, I hope you've learned as much as I have about our AEP that provides the electricity to us so we can continue day after day. This has been Dr. Mary Jane Garza at Education #1 Priority.